We now come to Part 1. This is debate on clauses 3 and 4. The question is that Part 1 stand part.
Mr Chair.
Jackie Dean.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Having had a pretty good go of the preamble of the bill, well, we are only getting started because it's the preamble is a good deal of the description of the bill, but really this bill comes right back to council processes and decision-making processes within council, and I think the House understands what has happened here, which brings this bill to the House, and that is rates were incorrectly set back in 2003 and 4. And now need to be put right, because if they weren't be put right, then in fact those rates would be deemed to be unlawful and council would be open to challenge. So I just want to take a moment to reflect on the decision-making responsibilities of any local authority in New Zealand and how important it is that those requirements under the Local Government Act and the Local Government Rating Act are adhered to closely and carefully, because if they're not, then you're going to end up in the kind of state that the Tasman District Council and others, mercifully few, have found themselves in. And so it's really incumbent on the Chief Executive of the local authority to make sure that the calculations and the information put in front of elected members is correct, so that when members do go to vote on the rating declaration, there are the maps attached which describe the rating boundaries for the purpose of targeted rates, that sort of thing. And so while I'm absolutely sure the elected members of the Tasman District Council have taken quite a bit of heat over this, how much liability do you place with them? Is it, you know, as an elected member, we are, and I was a local authority elected member, how much of responsibility for making sure the resolutions that are placed in front of you for voting on are correct, how much of that is your responsibility and how much of that lies with the council officers? Well, I have a view on that, and I reckon that while councillors need to make good, robust decisions, that's got to be made based on good evidence and on good information. And clearly in this case, those councillors made a decision a number of years ago which was not based on good information and good evidence. And I think that is exactly what underpins the purpose of the better local government reforms brought in by this government, is that it absolutely, this kind of example absolutely underlines just exactly why we need local authorities who are capable and who are proficient and who are focused on what matters. And around rate setting time, what matters is putting good information in front of the elected members so that they can have a good debate about what they are about to vote on, because the voting that takes place in every local authority has an impact on rates and is taking tax-paid money out of ratepayers' pockets to provide them with services. So Part 1 of this bill, which is preliminary provisions in detail, describes the purpose of this bill, which is to validate specified rates set and assessed by the council and the penalties added to those rates. And it's the penalties which is where things get quite tricky for the... Now, you see, the member over the other side of the House has just said possibly the most boring speech he's ever heard in this House. And I think that's really unfortunate, because this matter is quite important to the people of Tasman District. And I think that those ratepayers of the Tasman District, what electorate is it? What electorate is the Tasman District? It is West Coast Tasman and maybe a little bit of Nelson. So let those ratepayers listen to what just happened from the members of the Labour caucus, is that they are finding this debate, which is about providing good governance on behalf of their local authority, they are finding that boring. So I do hope that those people who are listening and watching this on television clearly understand that if they're looking for any sympathy from the Labour caucus for local government, then they need not look to Labour, because clearly the member from the other side of the House who has no knowledge about local government and clearly no love for local government has just absolutely displayed for... Oh, Mr Chair, has absolutely displayed to everyone here they have no sympathy, they have no empathy, they have no liking for local government. I think that's a shame, because local government underpins our communities, and the provision and the setting of rates done correctly is absolutely critical for every single community. Doesn't matter if it's Wellington or the West Coast Tasman, doesn't matter where it is, doesn't matter how boring that little process that the councillors have to sit down and make the resolutions, just as we do sometimes. It's about as dry as a chip occasionally. Doesn't matter how dry and boring it might seem to those Labour members, actually it matters. It matters to those ratepayers because it's their money that is being taken out of their pockets by their council to pay for services that they need. And I reckon Labour has just laid its intentions bare. They don't care. They think it's boring. Well, I tell you what, the national government don't think it's boring, and through our better local government reforms, we are putting a huge amount of focus on providing good services in local government. Because you see, over this side of the House, we want to provide, it might be boring and it might be dry as a chip, but we want to provide good service, and as Maggie Barry says, that's democracy. Sometimes it is a little bit dry and not that exciting, sitting down reading lots and lots of papers, and I can understand why Labour members wouldn't like that.
Now, I'd actually like to hear something about part one.
Oh.
We're actually on parts now, and the parts are quite limited. And I'm asking the member to actually talk about part one of this bill. So, Jackie Dean.
Thank you so much, Mr Chair, because it comes right back to the purpose of this bill, which is to correct a deficiency with the Tasman District Council. And I think it would be fair to say that correcting mistakes made in the past are exactly what this government is focused on doing through our better local government reforms. And I acknowledge that for the other side of the House, Labour in particular, they find that a bit boring, but I can assure the House that we don't.
I'm calling Nikki Wagner.
Thank you very much.